All right. Hey, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready to dive in.
Great. Today, we're tackling a topic that's, well, it's kind of a big deal,
Yeah, no kidding.
especially if you're a UPSC aspirant out there.
Absolutely. This one's going to be relevant for both mains and prelims, I'd say.
Definitely.
You're talking about the whole landscape of AI governance.
Global governance.
Exactly. The global quest to figure out how to,
Manage this whole AI thing.
manage it, control it, make sure it doesn't control us.
Right. Because it has the potential to really transform everything.
Oh, absolutely. Everything.
And to help us make sense of it all, we've got our trusty sources.
Always got to have those reliable sources.
You know them, you love them. The Press Information Bureau,
PIB for short.
PIB for short, and the Indian Express.
Can't go wrong with those.
Nope. So get your notepads ready, folks.
This is exam prep gold right here.
It really is.
But before we get into the nitty-gritty,
Yeah, we got to set the stage a bit.
we have to, right? Let's go back to the OG, John McCarthy, 1956.
Oh, the father of AI.
That's him, coined the term artificial intelligence and basically kicked off this whole thing.
And look where we are
I
now.
know, right? It's amazing and a little bit terrifying.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, we've had all these global summits lately, all trying to grapple with this AI thing.
It's like the world woke up and realized, oh, this is happening fast.
Yeah, like Bletchley Park in 2023, then Seoul in 2024, and now we've got the Paris AI Summit coming up.
Paris is going to be big.
Huge. And get this, our very own Prime Minister Modi is co-chairing the Paris Summit.
Talk about a sign that India is taking this seriously.
Seriously,
Right.
seriously. Okay, so before we fast forward to Paris,
Let's rewind a bit.
back to Bletchley Park. What happened there? What's so important about that?
Bletchley gave us the Bletchley Declaration, which was, well,
Pretty big deal, right?
it was 28 countries, and the EU signed it. And even though it's not legally binding,
It sets the tone.
it absolutely does. It lays out these core principles for how AI should be developed and used ethically.
So like a moral compass for AI.
Exactly, a moral compass, and it's incredibly influential.
Okay, so for our UPSC folks out there, what are the key takeaways from Bletchley that they should be writing down?
The big one, aligning AI with human values.
Human values first.
Always. Making sure this tech serves us, not the other way around.
Right, because we've all seen those sci-fi movies.
Oh, yeah, we don't want to end up there.
Not at all. What else?
Safeguarding fundamental rights, big time.
Okay, it makes sense.
And then, of course, safety and security,
Gotta have that.
and a huge emphasis on ethics and accountability.
So basically making sure AI is a force for good.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
you know what? This stuff is prime essay material, especially for GS Paper 4, the ethics paper.
Oh, I can see the exam questions now.
Me too.
Okay, so Bletchley set the stage. Then we had Seoul in 2024, keeping the momentum going.
Goal was all about advancing those global discussions,
On AI safety, you mean?
Safety for sure, but also innovation.
So making sure the benefits of AI are spread around.
Yeah, not just concentrated in a few powerful hands.
Right, because that's a concern.
A big one.
Okay, so lots of high-level talk at Seoul, but did anything concrete actually come out of it?
More than you might think. They managed to get an agreement on those minimum guardrails for AI use.
So, like, setting some boundaries.
Yeah, basic rules of the road, which is a big step.
That is a big step.
Plus, they hammered out a roadmap for AI safety, kind of like a set of guidelines to avoid that dystopian future.
So we're not all just blindly rushing into this AI future.
Exactly. A little bit of caution, a little bit of planning.
I like it.
And that roadmap, that's what's setting the stage for what's going to happen in Paris.
Because Paris isn't just another talk fest, right?
Oh no, this is where they're aiming to actually tackle some really tough problems.
Like what? Give us the inside scoop.
Well, one of the big ones is this whole issue of who controls the AI market.
Ah, yeah, because right now it's a pretty small club.
It is a handful of companies calling the shots.
We're talking Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, Meta,
Big players.
and that concentration of power, that makes a lot of people nervous.
Of course. It raises questions about fairness, competition, even national security.
Especially if these super powerful AI tools are controlled by just a few.
Exactly, and that's what Paris is hoping to address head on.
Okay, so how are they planning to do that? What's the game plan?
Well, they've got this unique two-day structure.
Oh, tell me more.
Day 1, February 10th, is the multi-stakeholder forum.
So everyone's invited.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Government folks, business leaders, activists, you name it.
Sounds like it could get lively.
Oh, I'm sure it will. They'll be hashing out different approaches to AI governance.
So lots of brainstorming, lots of debate.
Yeah, for
And then day 2.
Day 2, February 11th, that's when the real power players come in.
Okay, the big guns.
The summit of heads of state and government, they're the ones who will try to move beyond just talking.
And actually make some decisions.
Exactly. Collaborative decisions about how to govern AI on a global scale.
Wow, so from a big mix of voices on day 1 to high-stakes decision-making on day 2.
This summit could be a real turning point.
It really could, and it's especially crucial for Europe, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. They're feeling the pressure to keep up with the US and China.
In the AI arena,
Yeah, the AI race is on.
big time.
And Europe is worried about falling behind.
I can see why.
They see Paris as a chance to, assert their influence.
And make sure their values are reflected in how AI is governed.
Exactly, because they've got a different approach than the US and China.
Speaking of the US and China, let's talk about that AI race for a second.
Oh, it's heating up.
It is. I read about the US launching this massive initiative, the Stargate project.
Ah, yes, Stargate. A cool name, right?
It is, but $500 billion? That's a lot of money.
It is, but they're serious about dominating AI. They want to be the leader.
And they've got the big players on board, right?
All the big tech giants, OpenAI, SoftBank, Oracle, Microsoft, NVIDIA.
A whole gang.
They're all in, pouring resources into building cutting-edge AI infrastructure.
So they're going all in on this.
They are, but here's the thing.
What's that?
China is not backing down.
They never do.
Nope, they've got their own powerhouses, companies like DeepSeek.
DeepSeek, I've heard of them.
They're actually outperforming OpenAI in some areas, like math and coding.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
And then you got Alibaba, right?
Alibaba, of course, they just released their new AI model, supposedly on par with OpenAI's GPT-4.
So it's a real neck-and-neck race.
It is, on multiple fronts.
Man.
Research, development, investment, even geopolitical influence.
This is getting intense.
It is, but amidst all this competition, there's also this global realization,
That AI needs some rules.
It does, some kind of oversight, but how to do that, how to regulate this incredibly powerful tech.
That's the million-dollar question.
It is, and different countries are taking wildly different approaches.
That's what makes it so interesting.
It does, and for our UPSC folks understanding these different approaches, this is gold for GS Paper 2.
Governance, constitution, polity, all that good stuff.
Exactly, so let's break it down, shall we?
Let's do it. First up, the EU. Where are they landing on this whole AI regulation spectrum?
The EU, well, they're being very EU about it. Cautious, comprehensive. They're proposing a strict framework.
Okay, strict in what way?
They want to categorize AI systems based on how they're used, how invasive they are, how risky they are.
So a very tailored approach, depending on the specific use case.
Exactly. The level of regulation depends on what the AI is actually doing.
Makes sense. So that's the EU? What about the UK? Are they on the same page?
Not even close. The UK is going in the opposite direction, much lighter touch.
Really?
Yeah, they're all about innovation. They don't want to stifle development with too many rules.
So they're betting on a more hands-off approach.
They are. They want to create a thriving AI ecosystem.
Interesting. So we've got two very different approaches already. Where does the US fit in?
The US, historically, they've tried to strike a balance.
Somewhere in between the EU and the UK.
Exactly. But lately, there are signs they might be leaning more towards deregulation.
Really? Why is that?
Well, they're worried about losing their edge in the global AI race.
Ah, they want to stay ahead.
They do, and they see too much regulation as a potential obstacle.
Okay, that makes sense. They've got a lot at stake.
They do. Now, last but not least, how is China handling this whole AI regulation puzzle?
China, always a fascinating case.
Always. Their approach is very much shaped by their own political system,
Control, right?
Control is a big part of it. They've got structured measures in place, especially for AI applications that could impact state interests.
So they want to encourage AI, but also keep a tight rein on it.
Exactly. It's a balancing act for them, too.
It seems like every country is trying to find that sweet spot, harnessing the power of AI.
But also protecting their citizens and staying competitive.
It's a complex equation.
It is.
Yeah.
And speaking of finding that sweet spot, where does India stand in all of this? Well, India has been championing this idea of responsible AI.
Responsible AI, I like the sound of that.
It's about making sure AI is developed and used ethically.
Putting ethics front and center.
Exactly. Prioritizing safety, trust, and a human-centric approach.
So it's not just about the technology itself.
It's about the values that guide its development and use.
And I bet Prime Minister Modi will be emphasizing this at the Paris Summit.
Oh, I'm sure he will. It's a message that resonates globally.
And it ties in with India's concerns about the way technology can be misused, right?
Absolutely. We've seen the dark side of social media, the spread of misinformation.
And India wants to make sure that doesn't happen with AI.
They want to make sure AI is used to build a secure and inclusive digital landscape.
A digital landscape that benefits everyone.
Exactly. So recognizing both the potential and the pitfalls of AI.
That's key.
It is, and that's something Indian policymakers are taking very seriously.
Good here.
It's a sign that India is ready to be a leader in shaping the future of AI.
A responsible leader.
A responsible leader, absolutely. It really is a balancing act, finding that right approach, you know?
It is. So how do we actually walk that tightrope? What does responsible AI look like when you actually try to build it?
Well, it's all about integrating those ethical considerations every step of the way,
From the beginning.
from the very start. The data that's used to train the algorithms, the way these AI systems are designed, even how they're used in the real world.
So it's about making sure those ethical checks and balances are built in from day one.
Exactly. It's not an afterthought. It's got to be baked into the whole process.
Okay, so transparency, fairness, accountability, those are the key ingredients.
Those are the big ones, and the goal is to make sure that AI benefits society, minimizes any harm.
So thinking about things like bias in the algorithms, potential job losses, privacy and security risks.
All of that and more. Those aren't just hypothetical problems. Those are real issues we have to address.
Right, so for our UPSC folks who might be asked to analyze India's approach, are there any concrete frameworks or guidelines already in place?
Well, we don't have a formal overarching regulatory framework yet, but there have been some big steps.
Okay, like what?
Well, back in 2018, NEI Ayog, the government think tank,
Yeah, I know Neni Ayo.
they released this paper, National Strategy for Artificial Intelligence.
So kind of laying out a vision for AI in India.
Exactly. And it was a big deal because it really emphasized using AI for social good, for progress, but also proactively addressing those ethical concerns.
So even back then, there was this awareness that AI needed to be approached carefully.
Absolutely. And they've been building on that vision ever since. There have been all these initiatives to boost AI research development across all these key sectors.
Healthcare, agriculture, education, those are the big ones.
Those are the game changers where AI can really make a difference.
So it seems like India's taken a proactive approach, not just waiting to see what happens.
Exactly. Fostering a homegrown AI ecosystem, but always with those ethical guardrails in place.
That's a good way to put it. And this isn't just happening within India either, right?
Right. India's been very active in those global AI governance forums, like the Paris Summit coming up.
Showing they want to shape the conversation, not just follow along.
Exactly. And it makes sense for India to be a leader in this space.
Because we've got such a booming tech sector.
We do. Tons of talented engineers, researchers.
And this commitment to using technology for good.
Exactly. So India has a lot to offer the world when it comes to AI, both in terms of innovation and ethical leadership.
Okay, so we've talked about responsible AI a lot in the abstract, but let's get down to brass tacks. Where are we actually seeing AI being used in India right now?
Let's start with healthcare. It's a prime example. India has this huge population, right?
Massive.
And not enough doctors, especially in rural areas.
It's a challenge, for sure.
It is, and AI has the potential to really bridge that gap.
By doing what?
Well, think about AI-powered tools that can help with diagnoses remotely.
Oh, so people in remote areas can still get expert advice.
Exactly. Or AI systems that can analyze medical images super accurately.
Like even better than humans.
In some cases, yes, and they can even help surgeons during really complex operations.
Wow, that's incredible.
It is. Imagine a specialist in a big city guiding a surgery in a small village, all thanks to AI.
That's like something out of a sci-fi movie.
I know, right? But it's happening now.
So this isn't just about fancy gadgets. This is about improving healthcare for everyone.
Exactly. Access, outcomes, it's about making healthcare more equitable.
Okay, so healthcare is one area where AI is already making waves. What about other sectors?
Agriculture is another one where AI can be a game changer. Think about it. India is an agricultural powerhouse, right?
Always has been.
And our farmers face a ton of challenges.
Weather, pests, you name it.
Exactly. And AI can provide them with real-time insights, on things like weather patterns.
So they can make smarter decisions about their crops.
Precisely. Information on soil health, pest infestations. It's like giving them a high-tech toolkit to optimize their yields.
And that can help improve their livelihoods too.
Absolutely. It's about empowering them, giving them the information they need to succeed.
It's amazing to think about how AI can be this tool for empowerment.
It really is. And it's not just farmers. Think about education, too.
Okay, how can AI help with education?
Well, imagine AI-powered learning platforms that can personalize education, based on each student's needs.
So everyone gets the attention they need.
Exactly. And it can provide targeted feedback, which frees up teachers to focus on, being mentors and guides.
That sounds like a win-win.
It is, and we're just scratching the surface here. There are AI applications popping up in finance, transportation, manufacturing, even entertainment.
It really feels like the possibilities are endless.
They are, but it's crucial to remember that there are potential downsides, too.
Right. We've talked about those ethical concerns, but it's worth repeating.
It is, because as AI becomes more integrated into our lives, those challenges become more pressing. We have to address things like bias in algorithms, the potential for job losses, the risks to privacy and security.
It's not all sunshine and roses.
It's not. Navigating this AI revolution requires a really careful approach.
Balancing the benefits with the potential risks.
Exactly, and that's the challenge facing policymakers, thought leaders, all of us, really.
And understanding these complexities, that's not just important for acing those UPSC exams. It's important for shaping the future.
A future where AI is a force for good.
That's the goal.
It has to be.
Okay, future policymakers. We're in the home stretch now, wrapping up our deep dive into AI and what it means for India. And for you dedicated UPSC folks out there, remember, this isn't just about understanding the tech itself.
It's about the big picture.
Exactly, how AI impacts governance, ethics, the economy, you name it. It's relevant for every single GS paper you'll be facing.
It really is. We've talked about the global AI race, all those different approaches to regulation, and of course, India's focus on responsible AI.
But let's get even more specific. What are some actual things happening in India right now? Initiatives, applications, things our listeners should know about.
Okay, good point. Let's see those concepts in action. For example, remember the RAISE 2020 Summit?
RAISE 2020, remind me.
It stood for Responsible AI for Social Empowerment. It was a big event, really showed India's commitment to using AI for the right reasons.
Right, for social good.
Exactly. They had everyone there. Government folks, industry leaders, academics, even activists, all focused on finding AI solutions for real problems.
Like in healthcare, education, agriculture.
All those key sectors we talked about earlier.
And what about Niti Aayog? Are they doing anything concrete?
Oh, absolutely. They've been partnering with big tech companies like Microsoft and IBM.
Wow, so public-private partnerships.
Exactly. They're launching AI-focused initiatives, research centers, really pushing things forward.
It's interesting to see how India is approaching AI development, not just a top-down approach.
It's a team effort. The government, the private sector, universities, even international organizations all working together.
And that's a key takeaway for understanding India's strategy.
It is.
Oh, and here's something else I found really cool. The National AI Portal.
I love that portal. It's like a one-stop shop for everything AI in India.
Exactly. Learning resources, research papers, case studies. It even helps connect AI startups with investors and mentors.
It's a great example of how the government is actively building that AI ecosystem we talked about.
And speaking of startups, there are some really cool Indian companies doing amazing things with AI.
Oh, yeah. Tons of them.
I came across this company called Cropin.
Cropin, they're great. They're using AI to help farmers make better decisions about their crops.
Imagine that. AI for agriculture.
It's a game changer, especially in India. They give farmers real-time data on weather, soil conditions, even pest warnings.
So instead of just relying on tradition, they've got all of this data to help them.
Exactly. They can increase their yields, reduce losses. It's really empowering.
And then there's Sigtuple, using AI for healthcare diagnostics.
Oh yeah, Sigtuple is doing some amazing work.
Analyzing medical images, doing blood tests, all with AI.
It's making quality healthcare accessible, especially in those remote areas where it's really needed.
A perfect example of AI bridging those gaps we talked about.
It is, and these are just a few examples. There's a whole wave of AI innovation happening in India right now.
It's really exciting.
It is, and for you UPSC aspirants, this is where you can really shine in those exams. Don't just memorize facts about AI. Think about how it's being used in India.
Analyze it, critique it.
Exactly. What are the challenges? What solutions are being developed? Show the examiners you can think critically.
Because UPSC loves those analyze and discuss questions. Like, imagine you get an essay question about AI and the Sustainable Development Goals in India.
Oh, that's a good one.
How would you even approach that?
Well, first, you'd want to show you understand the SDGs themselves.
Those are important.
Then link specific AI applications to specific goals, like AI in healthcare contributes to good health and well-being. AI in agriculture can help fight hunger.
It's all about showing those connections, how AI can actually help achieve those goals.
Exactly. And don't forget to talk about the challenges, too. Ethical concerns, job displacement, the digital divide.
A balanced perspective is key.
Always. A nuanced answer always impresses the examiners.
So we've talked about AI in India, but this is a global issue. How can our listeners stay informed about the international side of things?
Your go-to sources, PIB, the Indian Express, they'll keep you updated on India's role in global forums. But to really broaden your perspective, check out reports from international organizations.
Like the UN.
The UN, the OECD, the World Economic Forum, they all publish in-depth analysis on AI trends and governance.
Those reports can be a little dense sometimes.
They can be, but they're full of great insights. And don't underestimate the power of online resources either.
Good point. Any specific recommendations?
The Future of Life Institute and the AI Now Institute are great. Lots of articles, podcasts, even courses on AI ethics and governance.
Perfect. So we've got our Indian sources, international organizations, and some great online resources.
More than enough to keep you busy?
Well, on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive. We've covered a lot, from the basics of AI to its impact on India and the global efforts to govern this incredibly powerful technology.
We've talked about the amazing potential of AI, but also acknowledged the ethical challenges and the need for responsible development.
I hope you found this deep dive helpful and engaging. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode with your fellow UPSC aspirants.
And don't forget to check out the PIB and the Indian Express for more information.
Until next time, keep those brains buzzing and those ambitions soaring.
See you next time.